Most people are marching in lockstep and they don't realize it. Part of that involves, quite literally, calling upon the lowest aspect of your nature, the bottommost chakras, if you will, whether you believe in that or not. In other words, you're not thinking for yourself. You're not utilizing free will. Sure, you can go grocery shopping, you can go to work, you could put both, a pair of, or I should say a pair of socks, a sock on each foot, and things along those lines. But in terms of reasoning shit out and not buying into the propaganda, repeating it verbatim, most people haven't figured that much out. And they're incapable and or unwilling of, to do so. It's a bad way to put it. I'm finally eating for the first time today. Here's a bunch of kids sucking fascist Charlie's dick. So here it says, Charlie Kirk never used hate speech. He used speech they hated. And people like that. 1,390 people thought that was pretty clever. So I rattled off the same thing I said at the top. Charlie promoted the Hegelian dialectic. In case you don't know what I'm talking about, that's conquer and divide, blue versus red. It's not something in place to benefit the people. It's something in place to drive a stake between people. And if you pay attention, it's everywhere these days. Men against women, whites against blacks, and the list goes on. And it's fucking terrifying. It's counterproductive. By all rights, it's retarded. It's another reason why things like that are censored online, and I'm speaking from experience. Because you call a duck and people cry because they're trying to march in lockstep and work for our fucking masters, who most people believe they don't have, and yet you work a job 5 days a week, you have to sign a W-2 to work said job, which means you're consenting to have somebody you've never met steal from you. And that's one of many examples. Free people wouldn't do that. Free people don't work for other people. Oh, it's fucking terrifying. Yeah. So in terms of hate speech, this is what I just typed up. Quote-unquote hate speech is social engineering jargon in place to silence freedom of speech and promote patently fascist censorship. Other examples include, but are not limited to, shadow banning, canceling. Keep in mind, these are flowery names for fucking censorship. And hate speech is one of them. These things are, it's a very soft way to spoon-feed idiots something, to convince them to march in lockstep and repeat the fucking narrative. What I didn't rattle off is calling somebody a hater to reaffirm your dogmatic belief system. You dismiss what they have to say, and in most cases, people won't even read what you write them and or what you're willing to convey to them. They won't think about it, in other words. Either or and or both. What's another example? Polarizing positive vibes only. You only believe that, and it depends on whether you think that night is positive or day is positive, but you don't get to choose one of them. So you sure as shit when, align your values, your belief system, and who you fucking are based on just day or just night. Because that's asinine. And that's only something a fool would do and buy into, but that's what people repeat. But, most people out there aren't very bright to begin with, which is absolutely terrifying. How many kids have you heard reciting one of the many narratives? They claim that they're non-binary. If they were non-binary, they wouldn't fucking exist. Think of conquer and divide again. Think about a day and a night. Think about sunrise and sunset. Think about the blue and the red, because that's what it symbolically, represents. That's the Doppler shift. Now, if you assume that you're non-binary, I want you to look at your arm, because you're going to see some blue blood in your fucking vein before and or if it's not touching oxygen, so to speak, outside of your body. If you cut yourself, the blood will show up red. These are vibrations, mind you, which speaks to what I was talking about having to do with chakras as well, because the blue and the red are also relevant in terms of that thought. In other words, your body is quite literally a mirror or a reflection of what we experience every single day. These are just examples, a couple examples, of the fact that you and I are, we're in a symbiotic system and we're integral parts of it. And if you weren't binary, you wouldn't fucking exist. Another example is computers are modeled after the system you and I experience, that we're born into, as well as you and I. And computers run on what? Binary code. Off and on. Yeah? Zeros and ones, motherfucker. And I can't leave this on TikTok because I said the word retarded. TikTok's the worst fucking app I've ever run across, which is also why you guys have access to it. You and I alike. 43,000 people have seen this propaganda. 4,064 have circulated the propaganda. And I don't think I'm going to play the video because I'm sitting outside right now and I don't want to have to fucking listen to it. You guys could look up this account. This is Realist. I haven't clicked on his account yet, but 10 to 1, he has thousands upon thousands of people following him, I bet you. 10 to 1. 22,000 fucking idiots are following this dog shit. And here he is saying masculinity. Realism. Do you remember what I said about the Hegelian dialectic, blue versus red, conquer and divide? Driving a rift, between, or a stake in between men and women? Have you ever seen somebody online buy into, oh, I have the feminine urge to do this? You mean you have a fucking urge and a vagina between your legs? That's great, but you probably don't need to say feminine urge because that's divisive. The same applies to this guy, just leaving the word masculinity on here. One of the examples I throw out is, so you got Saturn and you got Jupiter. You got Satan and you got Jupiter. What I'm talking about is Mother Earth and Father Sky. And this also has to do with what I was talking about earlier about the red and the blue, crudely speaking. Two diametrically opposed aspects of the system you and I are a part of. You with me? Maybe? But they work in tandem. They work together. You still with me? Just like you got light inside of you, and then your bones are wrapped in, muscle and flesh and all that good stuff. The light inside of you is representative of Jupiter. The masculine, the sacred masculine. The flesh that you're wrapped in, and the earth beneath your fucking feet. That's Satanel, Saturnel, motherfucking earth. The sacred feminine. Once again, it's a binary fucking system. You wouldn't talk about one, you wouldn't promote one unless you were actively misleading yourself and other people by example. And a lot of kids do these days. Another example I'll throw out having to do with social engineering jargon. If I were to, and these are words that were hijacked in most cases and or made up. One that was hijacked is toxic. If I say the word toxic, do you think of men or women? And when you think of one of these two, sexes, because there are only two, in case you're full of assumptions, do you think of that sex in a favorable light when I say toxic? Or, has that sex been drugged through the mud and demonized based on this social engineering jargon? You and I are being manipulated. This shit was circulated. It was well-financed, well-circulated, and normalized, which is the only reason I can say toxic, and you probably pictured a dude. And you probably thought, oh, dudes are toxic. Because you're being programmed, motherfucker. And people like this circulate shit like that. But what do I know? If you look closely, top center, that's the wartime flag of the District of Columbia. If you look really close, you're going to see Canada, the United States, and Mexico. Technically, and I don't think Mexico is yet officially, but America is and Canada is. They're both crown colonies, vassal colonies. They stand under the crown. What I'm referring to is the trilateral city-states. And people like this, they don't have a clue what the fuck that has to do with. And that has to do with everything that you and I experience in terms of quote-unquote superficial materialistic society. Now, when I say superficial materialistic society, I'm referring to Satanel, Saturnel, motherfucking Earth. The outer aspect. The superficial aspect. The lowest aspect of our fucking chakras. The root chakra. The red. Here's another tidbit I'll throw out there because a lot of people also wax poetic about this dog shit. When you think about red, you could think about, Adam and Eve. I'm not a Bible thumper. All religion is social control in case you don't understand these things because you haven't thought for yourself a day in your life. But when you think about Adam, it technically relates to red clay, not white clay, not black clay, red clay, which also speaks to the lowest aspect of our chakras. It's something worth kicking around. But as always, what the fuck do I know? Yeah. If you look really close, it says Red Pill Matrix. You seen that movie? Before I go, the only reason you guys are familiar with the Matrix movie is, once again, well-financed, well-circulated, and normalized. Our masters are paving the way for one world religion, which is why you've heard about partially the electric universe, which is a corruption, but the holographic universe, which is absolute bullshit. The other one's simulation theory and the multiverse of adult fairy tale nonsense. That's why you're familiar with that movie. That's why it had so much promotion behind it and such a budget, and it's rife with lesser magic. But the really neat stuff, I've never heard somebody bring up, because people can't connect the dots anymore. When I say anymore, that movie dates back to 1999, and people still haven't figured out what the movie's actually telling you. Because, superficially speaking, you were told you live in a matrix, and people repeat that shit. In the movie, you have a red pill and a blue pill that you can choose. That's the Hegelian dialectic, motherfucker. That's conquer and divide, blue versus red. All over again. Because what? You and I have been had, and we are being fucking trained. Because all media, anything you're seeing online, anything you watch in movies, music you listen to, the list goes on, you're being fucking programmed. This is the umbrella of indoctrination. And most people don't understand a goddamn thing having to do with any of the things that I've rattled off. Because you try to have a conversation with people and they're going to tell you that light has speed. It doesn't. And if you thought about it long enough, you could reason out why. That's an absolute joke, but most people repeat it. I mentioned atom. A corruption of that word is atomism, which is not based on replicable evidence-based research. It's not based on, that's the scientific method if you're exceptionally slow. It's fucking nonsense. And this nonsense is in place to pave the way for a one-world religion, which is why you're familiar with the fucking propaganda. Other examples include, but are not limited to, black holes are a theory, quantum physics is a theory, quarks are a fucking theory, gravitons are a fucking theory. All that dog shit is based on a fucking lie. And most people out there believe it, they repeat it, because they're marching in fucking lockstep. So now ask yourself, are things getting worse or are they getting better? Because what I'm talking about proves that people do not have a goddamn clue what's going on. They're not willing to walk the walk and do the right thing. And so it goes.
This man was fucking assassinated. He was not killed, he was assassinated. Because they feared his influence. They feared what he was doing. They feared the fact that he was able to get Donald Trump back into office. They feared what he could do. So they had to fucking assassinate him like the fucking piece of shit cowards that they are, because they know that if we actually have political discourse, their ideology never wins. These fucking liberals don't live in fucking reality. These fucking idiots think that there's 99 fucking genders. These fucking scumbags think that violence is the way because they know that they can't actually win through the crucible of debate. These idiots know that their ideology will never stand up when actually put pressure on it. So what did they do? They targeted them. They killed them in front of everybody. These fucking radical leftists are too fucking comfortable with burning down cities, destroying businesses, attacking people, and they're never held fucking accountable because prosecutors are scared to call BLM a domestic terrorist organization because they're scared of being called racist. Fuck that shit. Antifa, BLM, all these guys, bro, they need to all be put on fucking watch list. We need to treat these niggas like Al-Qaeda. We don't put these guys in fucking Guantanamo. They need to be hung up, just like fucking Muhammad, next door, with rock music playing all night, in stress positions, waterboarded. These guys need to be treated like the fucking terrorists that we've caught from the Middle East. That's gonna be the new terror. It's not gonna be people flying planes into fucking buildings anymore. It's gonna be people doing mass shootings and killing people of influence. That's gonna be the new terrorism. And you guys are witnessing right now. We need to start treating these motherfuckers like Osama bin Laden. I am so fucking serious. Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, Abu Ubaidah, fucking Abu Zubaydah, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, Osama. We need to start treating these motherfuckers just like that. Have them hung up fucking listening to AC/DC for 24 hours, 7 days a week in stress positions. That's how you're gonna deal with this fucking problem. Guantanamo Bay to domestic terrorists. It's the only way they're gonna learn.
By the way, when I save a video on TikTok, I'm not afforded a fucking watermark, but these big channels still are. That's a red flag. It's absolutely arbitrary. It's also divisive. And most people don't experience what I'm experiencing because you're shopping around bullshit. You're misleading people and doing the wrong fucking thing. But once again, what the fuck do I know? Oh, and if you don't believe me, I've documented this shit long term. You can look up the accounts that I moderate and you can run through it because what I'm talking about is fucking true. Enjoy your night. What the fuck do I know?